Did you know that depending on the value of your inherited real estate, you might be able to skip probate entirely? Philip Ma here with eXp Realty, certified probate and trust specialist in California. In this video, I'll cover 3 ways to inherit real property without going through the time and expense of probate, as well as provide an overview of the probate process. Finally, I'm going to cover the valuation thresholds and timeframes for these different ways of inheriting real property. Let's do this. Now, the process of inheriting real property always begins, unfortunately, with the death of a loved one, usually the parents who own the property. The first way that the property could be inherited is through a living trust. This is the most straightforward way because the property is already owned by the trust. Usually, a successor trustee has been named in the trust document, and a preliminary change of ownership form would just have to be filed in the county where the property is located, naming that successor trustee. At that point, the successor trustee is able to hire a real estate agent and go through the process of selling the property if that's what they choose to do. Now, statistically in the United States, less than 50% of adults have any kind of estate plan. If there is no living trust, then the estate will probably have to go through the probate process. However, there are some what I call low value exceptions to having to go through probate. And I'm going to go through those in more detail on the next slide. The final category of inheriting real property is the probate process. Now, there's 2 types of probates: full authority and limited authority. With full authority, the personal representative of the estate has full authority to dispose of and disperse the assets of the estate. It can happen in a much shorter time frame as a limited authority probate. With limited authority, there are limitations on what the personal representative can do in disposing of the assets, and it does take much longer. I'll cover those time frames on the next slide. In this chart, I've summarized the 3 categories of inheriting real property, along with the valuation range of the assets for each category, and the time frame to get necessary approvals and sell the real property. With a living trust, the successor trustee is usually named in the trust document. That person can dispose of the property very quickly. Usually, as I said, they have to file a preliminary change of ownership form with the county recorder, and then they can engage with a realtor to get the property ready and put it on the market to sell. That process is anywhere from 0 to 3 months typically. With the second category, the low value exceptions to probate, there's a couple of subcategories. The first is where the property is worth less than $61,500. Now, this is June of 2024, so that amount may go up or down depending on when you're viewing this recording. What's needed to get the approval to sell this property is what's called the affidavit regarding real property of small value. That affidavit has to be filed in a local probate court, and it usually takes 3 to 5 months to get the approval and to sell that property. Now, one caveat here is that in order to get this exception, the heir has to wait 6 months from the date of death. So you have to add 6 months to that time frame. However, it is going to be lower cost than going through the probate process. The second subcategory of low value exceptions to probate is where the value of the property is between $61,500 to $184,500. Again, these numbers apply in June of 2024, but they probably will go up in the future. These values have to be determined by what's called a referee who is certified by the court. And the document that needs to be filed is the petition to determine succession to real property. The process of getting that approval and then selling the property is usually between 5 and 7 months. However, for this exception, the heir has to wait 40 days from the date of death in order to file this petition. Again, it will be lower cost than going through the full probate process, but some costs will need to be incurred and some court approval is needed. For probate itself, you have those two subcategories, full authority and limited authority. And for both of those, the asset value would be over $184,500. The time frame for a full authority probate is going to be roughly 6 months. That's to get the court approvals and to be able to sell the property. For a limited authority probate, the time frame is typically about 12 months, quite a bit longer. In a separate video, I'm going to go through the probate process in much more detail on these subcategories and the processes, costs, and timeframes. Reach out to me if you have any questions on inheriting real property in California. If you need a referral to an estate planning attorney, I'd be happy to provide you with that. And if you want a free consultation on buying or selling a home in Silicon Valley, let's get some time on the calendar. Finally, you can go to the URL on the left side of this slide, or as well as in the description below this video, and you can get my free guides on selling a home or buying a home for summer of 2024. I also have my latest market update slides for Silicon Valley, Santa Clara County, and San Mateo County, as well as these slides on inheriting real property, as well as Proposition 19. I'm Philip Ma with eXp Realty. I look forward to talking with you very soon.